What's
live on the interweb.
Oh, I've heard about that thing. I hear it's really, really neato.
Yeah?
I heard you can download pictures and a whole bunch of stuff like that. Can you? Like naked pictures?
Don't ever do that again.
We were trying to find out the stat for what happened in week 9 this past week, and so we still don't know. If we get the information while we're doing the show, we'll tell everybody. But Adam, every single team that won this past week scored 60-plus points. I think we've had this before where it has been maybe two or three teams when there was a very short week and a lot of teams were on byes. But at least I cannot remember this ever occurring for every single winning team in a single week, and especially with all 6 teams.
Well, it was definitely
winning teams.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely one of the highest scoring weeks. That was definitely the highest scoring week this year in the AFL. Over 113 points per game, nearly 114 points per game, and quite frankly, it could have been a lot worse had a couple teams actually decided to show up offensively. Like, I don't know, Cleveland in the second half, or Tampa Bay for pretty much the entire game, or Portland for basically the entire game, or had Vegas showed up in the first half. Could have even more points, but. Definitely a high-scoring week, and it's 2 straight weeks in the AFL that have featured a bunch of points, over 109 points last week in Week 8. So, if you like offense, we're definitely starting to trend in that right direction at this point.
It's true, and the past couple of weeks, at least this year, the Arena Football League, when it comes to points per game, have been down drastically, and I think we've bottomed out at, what was it that one week that we bottomed out at?
Yeah, 81 points per game.
I mean,
week 7.
What? You don't hear stuff like that. You've always seen the ads that the league's always promoted, even way back when. 100 points per game. You need oxygen to keep up with it and stuff like that. But, I mean, we had 113.6 points per game just in Week 9. We're at 102.1 for the season. But you also had noticed something, too, when it came to, that's high enough. 102. We've had higher in other years, but you also came across something when it came to average margin of victory.
Yeah, we're seeing blowouts obviously this year, kind of like the Philly-Tampa game this week with 71-27, one of the worst. Actually, it was the worst game in Storm history. So Tim, I didn't write down the numbers. I know you did, but it's something like 16.5 points per game.
You got it, yeah, dead on. 16.5
is the margin of victory. So the average AFL game this year is decided by nearly 17 points per game. So. Not surprising. The numbers probably aren't. The numbers seem shocking, but when you go back into the heyday of the AFL, you're talking about games that are separated by 11 or 12 points per game on average. So it's not that much greater. It just feels that much greater because for every game that's 83-28, there's a 63-62 game as well. So it seems like we've got a lot more incredibly lopsided games that are. Quite frankly, no fun to watch, which I think is bad for the league, but at least when scoring's up, there's more, entertainment for the fans in terms of touchdowns.
Right, and the average margin of victory they had, I think we came up with, is the second highest since 1992, which, that's a hell of a lot of years just in between. It's not something you would usually hear when it comes to average margin of victory for that type of thing, so it's...
yeah, I mean, it sort of feels like the AFL is devolving a little bit. I think I used that term last week on this show as well.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like you had in the beginning, in the late 80s, the early 90s, you had the really dominant teams. You had the Detroit teams, the Tampa teams, the Orlando teams, who just seemed to whoop up on everybody. But then there was a period of time from about, 96, 97, something like that, through... the beginning, or through the end of the AFL 1.0 era, where games just got close. Teams got a lot closer together, but now it seems like there's that huge, just wide gap between the good teams and the bad teams. And it's not good for the AFL at all to have that sort of huge gap. It looks like, there are more dominant teams, the quote dynasty in Arizona, matching up with the quote dynasty from the Detroit Drive days. But it's still not... Dynasties are good, but parity is also good. You hate to think... I mean, let's be honest. How many teams can really win the Arena Bowl this year? 5? 6? Maybe?
I think really 5 is stretching. It's 6. I think you're getting just past a level there, which that I really don't think is possible, at least this year. But 4 for sure, 5 okay, and then 6 we're heading a little bit. Where I think we're pushing it. But I don't know. It's we've talked when we hear about scoring is up, et cetera, et cetera. In years past, we've always talked about Adam about there being a modification in rules for the league, or a possible change in rules the following year. One in particular would be because of this, this uptick in points. Is it just? We were talking about last week, and some people have been commenting that San Jose is a AFL team, AFL 1.0 team playing AFL 2.0 teams. Is it that type of thing that's causing this uptick in points?
Well, that would be the uptick in points. That would be the uptick in margin of victory, but that's not necessarily the uptick in points. The uptick in points, this was a trend that we saw in 2006, 2007. We saw the first teams, scoring over 1,000 points when San Jose and Dallas and I forget who the other team was that all did it the one year where the three of them crossed 1,000 for the first time. So I think that's more an evolution process of the game itself. I think the onside kick was not a part of the AFL in the 90s. Going forward on fourth down was not a part of the onside. Was not a part of the AFL in the 90s. So I think as you see more of that, scores theoretically should go up. And the fact of the matter is, there are less crappy quarterbacks in this league now, believe it or not, than there were 3 years ago because there's fewer teams. So, yeah, you still have LA who has no quarterback. You still have Portland who's got an average at best quarterback. You still got a lot of situations like that. But percentage-wise, there's more Nick Davilas and Eric Myers and Shane Austins in this world who are capable of putting up 70 to 80 points on a week-in, week-out basis.
Now, they're talking about some stuff last week, and we mentioned that, this year could be considered the year of the backup quarterback. Could that also be a possible reason why this is occurring again this year?
Backup quarterbacks are bad for scoring, not good for scoring. So, I
guess it depends on the team. When you have a Nathan Stanley type of quarterback with San Jose, which seems to be he played very on par with what Eric Meyer did, when he was hurt. So I don't know. It's BMO's doing well. Now, I think the big question now is, I think we can ask everybody else too, is that because of this, will the league finally see this as a positive, or will they look to make modifications again, like it seems like every pro football league is doing? CFL does it because there's not enough scoring. The NFL is trying to just make changes, I think, just to make changes. Will the AFL fall into this same pattern and try to make modifications for gameplay next year?
I don't know what you're trying to resolve. You're talking about a league who already got rid of free substitution. You're talking about a league who already, basically took the jack out of the box, at least from a horizontal standpoint. I don't, unless they're, in terms of raising scoring, you're not raising scoring by changing any more rules. Unless you're just going to take a defender off the field or let more of them go, all Canada style and let everybody go in motion. But that's not going to happen because that's not a part of the Arena Football League. So I don't think there's any major, tweaking coming to exact. The fact of the matter is there's nothing wrong with the game itself. There's a lot of things wrong with the way that teams are being managed and put on the field together. And that's what's causing an imbalance, not the rules of the game.
Okay. No, I don't think there should be any either. I'm just getting tired of seeing them making changes for making changes for making changes sake. You know what I mean? It's like, we need to back up like the NFL and CFL. They've backed up the extra point now to the 15-yard line. That's where the line of scrimmage is going to be. Hey, I have an idea. The NFL tested it in the Pro Bowl. I love seeing the it's a minor change, but short.
We don't need to make extra points harder in this league. Extra points are hard enough as it is.
No, not us. No. I'm saying, but I don't know. It's any real surprises? Just real quickly before we go forward in this show. Any real surprises from this past week? Obviously. Cleveland basically being held scoreless in the second half. Who knows what the score of that game would have been and how many records they could have set. And then there's Philadelphia's basic. We still didn't find out when the last time that team went scoreless in the first half. Tampa Bay was
anemic at best in that game against Philadelphia. The Soul got very, very angry. They were up 34-0, and then it was just very, very ugly, just brutal by every sense of the word. But when you think about it, Spokane was killing Las Vegas. Orlando killed Portland the whole way. Philly, never had any doubt about Tampa Bay. Jacksonville, when it put its foot on the gas pedal, was rid of New Orleans. And look, when San Jose decided that it was going to play this game, it put its foot on the gas pedal as well and took care of Cleveland with ease. So, the couple notes from the game, we'll talk about Joe Goosby here in just a minute. His performance, Darren Thomas is now out for the season with a leg injury. Another injured quarterback, J.J. Raderick, was just put on IR today. Yep. So who knows what's going to go on with Vegas and their quarterback situation. We're losing quarterbacks for long periods of time, and that's really not good in the AFL. So, we'll see. It was, I guess, an interesting group of games, if nothing else.
That's a good word.
I don't know if it was a great group of games. It was certainly an interesting group of games.
That's it. We might as well go ahead and talk about it. You just mentioned it before, is that besides Philadelphia running roughshod over Tampa Bay, the 71 points, if you just look at the score, you said, okay, this is a complete blowout, which it was, but unless you actually looked at the box score itself, you really did not know the full extent of one player, of how well this person did in this game and how much of a huge impact he had. No,
Joe Goosby was the man in this game. The backstory sort of behind it. Now, Joe Goosby's a jack linebacker, and he's been a jack linebacker his entire career. He's played a little bit of wide receiver. He's played a little bit of defensive back, but really he's a jack linebacker. He's also lined up at end a little bit in his career, defensive end, but he's not a fullback by any stretch of the imagination. So last week, Tommy Taggart gets hurt in Jacksonville, and of course the Soul spent the entire week in Florida. That created a very big problem for the Soul, as they didn't have a fullback on their roster who they were just kind of ready to put into place. Now, they did sign another basically offensive lineman who was not capable of carrying the football, but it stunned the hell out of me and everybody else everybody else who was in the know sort of in that arena, to see Joe Goosby lined up at fullback for the first time in his career. Mm-hmm. Nobody saw that coming. So in this game, Joe Goosby starts at fullback, starts with a run, ends up scoring his first career offensive touchdown on the first drive of the game, his second career offensive touchdown on the second drive of the game, and his third career offensive touchdown on his third drive of the game. Now, keep in mind, Joe Goosby is still a jack linebacker, so he's playing every single play at jack linebacker. He played probably, a third of the plays on offense or so, just kind of a guess. On that, he was rotated in and out at fullback. By the way, he played every special teams play in that game too. He did kick coverage. He was a gunner. He played both sides of the extra point game. He was out there a ton. That in and of itself is rare. You don't see that with the free substitution rules anymore. But
if we had still the Ironman of the Game award, for sure. If they still had that, he would have gotten it this week, hands down. He
is already Ironman of the Year for that performance.
Yeah.
But anyway, furthermore, he also forced 2 fumbles on Tampa Bay drives in the first half. So in the first half alone, the guy's got 3 rushing touchdowns and 2 forced fumbles. He also made 1 really big tackle on special teams. Now, to start off the second half, when you think, what else could Joe Goosby do, the first thing that he does in the second half is he picks off a pass and brings it in for a touchdown. The second thing he did is after Tampa Bay scored a touchdown, he blocked an extra point, picked it up, and ran it back for 2 points. So in 2.5 quarters, this guy has 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 forced fumbles, a pick 6, and a blocked blocked extra point that he returned for 2 points. I don't ever remember seeing anything like that in the AFL, and I've been around a long, long time, and I've seen a lot of Barry Wagner, and I've seen a lot of Hunky Cooper, and I've seen a lot of linemen going both ways, and a lot of guys like Les Barley and all that. Mm-hmm. Nothing.
There's an old school name.
Nothing. It was just the first fullback linebacker that came to my mind.
Yeah.
But anything like this performance that Joe Goosby had, and it was refreshing to see. It put a highlight on a game that otherwise sucked, and was really It was just you'll never see that in the outdoor game. That right there is what the AFL needs to promote. This is what you will not see in the outdoor game ever. Is a guy like this doing all these things.
Now, for those of you who didn't hear it, Adam had a great interview with Joe Goosby after the game. You can head over to our SoundCloud account at soundcloud.com/ArenaFan and listen to the post-game interview. I loved listening to it. Do I dare use the word giddy? Is that a good word to use? I mean, you were there with him. I mean, what?
Yeah, Joe is a very is kind of a lighthearted guy. He's always smiling one way or the other. You wouldn't know if he lost, but you wouldn't know after a game like that if they had just won by a million or won by one. You wouldn't know whether he was the player of the game or whether he was just that jack linebacker who only had a couple tackles for the game. But he was beaming after this one, and the quote from Quint Dolezal was the best one from that. He just said flat out in that old Texas drawl, "I love me some Joe Goosby."
Yep, that was good.
I can't give it justice. I can't do the Texas voice.
No, that's on there too. If you haven't listened to it again, that also the post-game interview with Coach Dolezal is also on our SoundCloud account. Just one quick thing I know, and we had and no, it's not the Philadelphia Soul show this week. We happen to have a great interview coming up. One thing I want to mention, at least to you, Adam, and we had talked about this prior, and I noticed this because I noticed these weird, stupid things. But this past week, for the first week since their streak has ended, Coach Dolezal did not wear a cap.
Whatever.
I know, but I told you it had it. I wish you would have asked him. If I would known you were going to speak with him after the game, I would have said, ask him, because
ask Joe to ask him.
Yeah, for the first 6 weeks, he had one on, lost. I think he had it on that next game, the 7th game, but he didn't have it on this past week. And great picture, by the way, by one of our photographers. The shot of Coach Dolezal that you posted over on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
This week's interview, we were going in between about who we wanted to speak with, and as everybody knows, we do have a huge game coming up on the East Coast. And no, we're not talking about a game in Philadelphia. We're not talking about a game anywhere, but a game in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more afterwards for the Boardwalk Bowl. But we happen to also get Philadelphia Soul's. What doesn't Tom Goodhines do? GM,
sells popcorn. That's about it.
Yes, director of football operations. Yes, that's it. I can't think of any. Those two alone. Adam, go ahead and set up the interview that we had with him.
Oh, all right. Let's do it. Oh, you mean actually set it up?
Yeah.
Okay, not like hit the play button. You actually want me to set up Tom Goodhines. Tom Goodhines is an ArenaFan alum, and he's one of my favorite guys. And I went to China with him, and he's great, and I love talking with him. And he knows more about arena football than most people have, like in their entire, he knows more about AFL in his pinky than most people know in their entire bodies, myself included. And he has done a phenomenal job going from a guy who literally was just a writer to a guy who has put together what might be the championship team this year in the Arena Football League.
Yeah. So we'll listen to the interview, and you guys who are listening to us live on Meerkat this week, you get to listen to it live, and we'll listen to it, and then we'll be right back.
Here we go.
And joining us tonight on AFL Tonight, he is the general manager of the Philadelphia Soul and also a proud ArenaFan alum. He is Tom Goodhines. Tom, thanks for taking some time out during a really busy week for the team.
Oh, I appreciate your time, Adam. It's always good to reconnect with the guys over there. We're obviously, being one and alum of the group and the hard work that you guys put in, we definitely appreciate you helping put us the league overall in a better light.
We appreciate it. Before we get into the stuff this week, what's going on in Atlantic City, just want to touch a little bit on the Soul so far this season. 8-1 out of the blocks, including one of the biggest wins in franchise history last week over the Tampa Bay Storm. You were the mastermind behind helping put this team together as the general manager. What have you seen so far this year out of your team?
Okay. I like to start off the top to say the mastermind. I don't know if that's probably the accurate term for it, but I think the way that we run things as far as coaching staff led by Clint Dalzell and Phil Vogel and Derek Stingley, and even our head of player personnel, Lou Russo, is more of a collaborative effort. It's not a one-way street, and this is how it is. It just seems that not only do we have some strong minds from an arena football standpoint of knowing the game and knowing the players and players around the league, but we actually like each other. All of us. I mean, we're friends off the field and on the field, and we, don't always agree on every, move or step, but we do believe in a philosophy, and that's, starts at the top of Ron Dworsky. I mean, Ron obviously sets the tone, and we follow that mantra and we stay with it. And, character off the field is just as important as your talent on the field, and we've made moves this past season to make sure that we are, following that philosophy of getting a good group of guys that we like, that perform well and have that high level of talent, and been very fortunate to have that translate and over onto the field.
Two guys who were on last year's team and a part of those teams that were in the Arena Bowl that are no longer here are one of the best fullbacks in league history in Derek Ross and one of the best wide receivers we've seen as well in Tiger Jones. You brought in a couple guys to replace them, Tommy Taggart. You have a Brian McDaniel who you're counting on more. Speak to the guys who are sort of replacing those, I'll call them air quote, main players from the Soul in the past.
Well, I mean, a lot of credit to those guys. I mean, Tiger Jones and Derek Ross are two of the best guys at their position. One of the off-season goals that we made were to get younger, and some of those tough decisions need to be made. And sometimes we thought we had enough of an eye and talent for that position to try to get younger, and sometimes you have to give up talent to get talent. And, we're very pleased with Bo Bell. I mean, Bo was a great addition for us, not only, from what he can bring, and his numbers might not be what they are, but I tell you, a guy who draws attention and opens things up for other guys, that is also noticed. And if you watch the film, other than just looking at the stat board, you can definitely see the effects of it. Now that happened in the locker room, Bo has just been a tremendous guy, helped fill the void for us, for a key guy that often gets overlooked because he didn't have the all-arena accolades and all the awards last year with Brandon Perkins. He was the heart and soul of our team last year as a team captain, and what he did, he was a coach on the field for us, and we knew that was a position that we had to address and do it quickly. And, same for Tiger Jones. We have, this receiving core that we have this year, with Marco Thomas and SK and with McDaniel, we think that combination it seemed at times that teams would say, or I'd always hear the comments that Dan would lock in on Tiger. Well, find the guy he's locking on this year, because it's always a different guy every game. If Marco, if his, protections roll to his side, then McDaniel's open. If they roll to the other side of McDaniel, then SK's open. So, I mean, even if you look at the stat book, you'll notice the touchdown totals are pretty close to each other across the board, with the lowest guy having maybe, 14, 15 touchdowns.
One of the things that I'll bet you didn't envision when you and the crew put this team together was having Joe Goosby playing linebacker for you at any, or it's not linebacker, playing fullback for you at any point this season. He puts together just a phenomenal game last week against Tampa, in which he had 3 touchdowns on the ground. He had a pick 6 in and amongst a whole bunch of other things. Now, I know you've been around this game for quite some time, and you remember the Barry Wagners and all of these guys who played both ways for a living. I know you're a little biased now, but where does the performance that Joe Goosby put on last week rank in the all-time Ironman performances in your eyes?
Well, I mean, just to preface a little bit from my perspective, and you and I even chatted at the game in Tampa, this is technically my 20th year around the game, either covering it as a media member, working for the league, working in the league office, or meeting with a team. I've been around the game 20 years. And in person, I mean, that is probably one of the best that I had ever seen in my 20 years. I have seen Barry Wagner play in person. And it was funny because even I came from where I was to come over to you, and you and I kind of looked at each other at the same time, and the same words came out of our mouth, Barry Wagner, which was kind of funny, but it's pretty accurate. And yeah, there is a little bit of bias just because Joe is a guy that's been with us for 4 years, and he's a guy that's been overlooked. been preaching it, and Clint's been preaching it. Once the move back in 2012, when we knew Dallas wasn't coming back, and I reached out to Clint and said, "Hey, why don't you come up here to Philly and let's try to win a ring?" He was one of the core guys that he brought with him, and we believed it from day one that this guy is the best jack in the league, and that was a showcase of what he is able to do. He does all of the little things, and not only that, we were talking about the touchdowns, the interception return, the blocked extra point, fullback. He can be a receiver if we need him. He's our backup defensive back. He can play backside at the defensive back position. But not only that, but he plays special teams. So he's running down on kicks, and that's back to the roots of where this league originated. What Joe did last night is a renaissance for those fans who love those days.
Now this week, the Soul are back. Well, I'll say at home because it is a home game against the Las Vegas Outlaws, but it's a really special game from Philadelphia because they're playing in Atlantic City for the first time in Boardwalk Hall. Can you speak sort of how this all came together? Where did the idea come from to play in Atlantic City, and how did it come to fruition?
Goosby. I mean, that was his baby from day one. Obviously with the storm that came through and the battles that Atlantic City's been going through to, try to get back on track from all of that, and the issues that they've been dealing down there with that, and Jogs has been literally the biggest leader with that drum. Just keep continuing to beat, hey, this is going to happen, we're going to make this happen. And, for us here in Philly, it's one of those things where, during the summer, you're either in the city or go down at the shore. So why not try to get the fans who are going down to the shore to come to a game, and, the marriage and the relationships, cultivated. This is a long time in coming. This wasn't something that just snapped up and just happened. A lot of red tape and everything else had to go through to make this happen, but, Ron was clearly the band leader to make this happen, and, our front office and the sponsorship and ticket side led by John Adams, the work that those guys have put in, it's just been tremendous. And for us on the football side, it's, hey, we got to stay focused and be ready to play. But we're excited. What kind of opportunity is this to play the Boardwalk Hall? It's just phenomenal.
Now, what can fans expect in terms of the entire day? Because this is not just a game that's going on in Atlantic City. Kind of walk us through what the fans can expect who do come out to the game in Atlantic City this weekend, and let everyone know how they can get tickets.
Well, from a routine standpoint, the team is going to go down on Friday night, and there is a Soul Connect event, which is partnered with our partners. We're doing a little event the night before with our partners and sponsors. So that kind of kicks off the weekend. But the big event will be on the day before, on the day of the game, the pep rally at noon down at the Boardwalk Hall. We'll be celebrating, obviously, kicking things off at noon and getting riled up for a couple hours there to get ready to roll. And then we have the game, obviously, kicking off at 6, and what better way to showcase, the CBS Sports Network game with a game there. The sight lines are tremendous. We took our entire field down there, so it rolled out perfectly. And we're just excited. I'm just excited to see how the reaction will be.
And again, how can our fans get tickets to this game if they're interested in going?
Obviously, the website is probably the easiest route to go. Or, obviously, call our main line at 215-253-4900, extension 3, which will connect you with our ticket department to get things going. But we're excited. I mean, the entire staff, the front office staff, ticketing staff doing a great job. And we're all getting excited pushing for this game.
Now, before I let you go, Tom, obviously there's still a lot of football left to be played as we're only really in the halfway point of the season. But based upon what you see right now, what is it going to take for the Philadelphia Soul to get through this season, get in the playoffs, get through the playoffs, and ultimately win a championship?
We look at the Jacksonville game as one of those things to keep an eye on. Obviously getting off to the great start of 7-0, but obviously we beat ourselves in Jacksonville. A couple of key fumbles. The first one going into the end zone and fumbling, that's a 14-point swing. And then the one that, during the injury of Tommy Tiger, caused a turnover there. So there's 21 points there that we left on the field that we felt that, if we were, doing our thing, we would have had those points and would have been a different result. So for us, it's not being ourselves. Just stay within our game. Clint calls a great offensive game plan. Phil Vogel does a great job with the defensive and offensive fronts, and obviously Stingley's been able to get that secondary playing well, led by James Romaine in the secondary, and we got Hugh Goosby at the jack position. So if we stay focused and do our job, as the coaches continually preach to the guys, then we should be there at the end.
Philadelphia Soul are 8-1, not only leading their division but leading their conference as well. The big game this weekend at Boardwalk Bowl against the Las Vegas Outlaws. We have been joined by the general manager of the team, Tom Goodhines. Tom, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Hey, it's always good to spend time with you guys and keep up the good work.
And Tim disappeared. Tim, where'd you go?
I'm right here.
Oh, okay. So that's Tom Goodhines, one of my favorite guys, like I said, in the entire Arena Football League, and obviously he knows his football, and he successfully assembled just a tremendous team and has been a part of the Soul organization now for several years, and like I said, he does PR, he does general management, he pretty much calls all the shots in Philly, even though he did give a lot of props there to a lot of the other people who are around him helping him out.
Exactly. I mean, I love talking with Tom. I mean, I know we ran into him when the Arena Bowl was in Orlando, and we've talked before on the show. But then again, you know what? I think he's the type of guy where he's as he did. He gave props to everybody who works with him. It's not just the Tom Goodhines show. It is the entire team. So I'm looking forward to see what's happened this week. But he was talking about it before, and we'll talk about it now. Is that we got the Boardwalk Bowl? I don't think we've had the Bacon Bowl. Really, okay. Really, okay. I understand we have that.
Hey, no mock of the Bacon Bowl. We interviewed the guy at the Bacon Bowl.
It's we did a few years back, and it is still on our archives over on iTunes. So, this game is getting a lot of hype, and it's not necessarily Arena Bowl type of hype, but this thing is really getting a lot of hype, not only in the Philadelphia area, but in the Atlantic City area also, isn't it?
Well, it should. It's the first time, they've ever played arena football in Atlantic City. Certainly not the first time they've ever played in New Jersey, but it's the first time they've been in the AC. And, I've never been to Atlantic City, but it's supposedly a really cool place. Just kind of it's like a beach and a carnival kind of met each other. I guess that's the best way I can describe it, just based on kind of looking at the pictures. And this could be a really cool event. I think to a certain extent it stinks for the Philly fans in Philly, because now it's not as bad as having to schlep from Chicago or from Rosemont out to Rockford. But and it's also a one-off, and it's a promotionary thing, not we're forcing you to go move to a flaming cesspool. But I think it's good. I think it's good for New Jersey. I think the biggest thing about this, though, is that DraftKings sponsorship. That could go somewhere, and if that goes somewhere, that is massive. I can make the argument that that's bigger than ESPN. That's bigger than CBS. I could make that argument that it's bigger than those two things. Of course, you wouldn't have DraftKings if you didn't have ESPN and CBS. So, you can clearly say in this case that the chicken came before the egg. But DraftKings is a big thing. For those of you who don't know what DraftKings is, it's a daily fantasy website where, all intents and purposes, it's legalized sports betting on fantasy sports.
It is, yeah.
For all intents and purposes, they call it.
And for some of the games, some of the daily games, it's not chump change either that they're offering.
Well, you can play for chump change. You can enter for $1 and win some money, or you can enter. They do a lot of free entries and $1 million games and all these things. So, but that's DraftKings, and it's a big deal, and it's getting to be a bigger and bigger and bigger deal as time goes on with this. So, if they ever implement successfully daily fantasy in the Arena Football League, that will become a massive thing. Bigger than gambling, bigger than actual gambling on the game. Believe it or not, for those of you who are gambling degenerates, who bet on these games, this could be bigger than that. This could be a lot bigger than that. There's still a lot of things that need to be done. The AFL needs to be transparent with its injury reports. It needs to be better with its statistical, keepings. But this could be a big sponsorship. If something like this latches on league-wide, this is where, when you talk about getting back in 2008, this would be the way to get back towards 2008. I think it's a long way to go. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is a very positive step. So the more stuff you see with DraftKings floating around, the better served that the Arena Football League is going to be. Maybe not necessarily in 2015, but beyond that.
Now, the Arena Football League originally had, they did have a fantasy game, official fantasy game with the league site. I think it's about that time, but during the NBC days, if I remember correctly. Then you have, obviously, what we offer, have been offering for years. But the DraftKings thing, when I first saw it, Adam, I thought immediately of, I know we're getting off topic a little bit of the game itself, but about Commissioner Butera. Do you think...
Absolutely. You don't even need to finish that line.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. The Vegas connections and all that, it's a big deal. It's really... if somebody's going to get this mainstream gambling thing, it's going to be the guy with the gambling background, the Las Vegas background, Scott Butera. So he obviously had a big hand in this. Ron Jaworski probably had a big hand in this. There's some big names. And unlike what you're talking about with, and again, no offense to Simmons and Stanley and Neal and those guys, I don't know what they're doing for the Arena Football League.
Just real quickly, Adam, I'm going to interrupt you here. Bring your mic a little bit closer to your face.
Okay.
That's all.
I don't see... you don't see Vince Neal out there talking about anything aside from the Las Vegas Outlaws in the Las Vegas market. In this case, you've got Ron Jaworski doing something, or helping to implement something, rather, that can be national for every team in the Arena Football League. So I think of all of the big celebrities, quote unquote, that the Arena Football League had. Hey, I could do the air quotes. I could do that now, and people can see me. But where was I with that? But of all the sort of celebrities that are around the Arena Football League, Jaws is the one who's doing the most proactively to not just help out his own market, but to help out the entire AFL. And I think there's something really to be said about that. And I think, if you kind of took a poll of, all of the superstar names that are in this, he's the one that really loves this game the most. I don't know if Gene and Paul know the first thing about this game. I know they know a lot about rock and roll, and I know they wanted their name on a football team, and I know Vince Neal has the same thing, but I don't know what they know about football. And I don't know whether they truly love the game or love the idea of owning a football team. Ron Jaworski loves the product of Arena Football.
Yes, he does. And, I think that if there's only really one bad thing, and this is just my opinion in itself, and we can ask this to the fans too, who happen to be watching us live on Meerkat this week. Do you think it being on the CBS Sports Network, Adam, will hurt the game? Do you think that the league had hoped that they would have been able to put this game on ESPN2? I know, nothing against having the Spokane game on, because that's going to be a huge game too. I mean, Arizona and Spokane. But a game of this, and I'll say, they can't see me doing the air quotes, magnitude. It's a secondary type of magnitude to the Arena Bowl, but do you think that they could have put it on ESPN2, that they may have had a little bit more?
I don't think this is... I think this is a local thing. I think the reach of it will be national, but I think the actual... I don't think the fans are going to care watching on CBS Sports Network where the game is. I don't think they'd care whether the game was at Wells Fargo Center or at Atlantic City or at the Spectrum or, on the Moon. I don't think they'd care. But to the people who are there in Atlantic City, again, if they pull this off, and it's still a big if, I don't know what it is going to be. The place holds something like 10-2, I think is what I heard. I don't know if they're going to have 10-2 there. If they have 10-2, it's going to be great. If they don't have 10-2, well, it could look, kind of like, I don't know, worst case San Juan.
I don't know how the configuration is for Boardwalk Hall, but all the pictures that we've seen, it looks absolutely stunning. And I think what is pretty cool, too, is that if they have, with everything set up, if you haven't seen already, go over to it, and we've tweeted some over on Twitter, retweeted them. They're on some of our Facebook page, and on the Philadelphia Soul Facebook page. They've shown some pictures of what it looks like in Boardwalk Hall. the other pictures that we've seen when it came to hockey and whatnot, and other indoor football that they had played there, they had it with the lights on. I think what's really cool at it is that these blue lights that, I guess, arc the hall itself are very similar to being, I guess we could say, Philadelphia Soul Blue. I think if that all comes together, and I agree with you, it is more for the local, but local, market and stuff like that. But you got to admit, though, Adam, this game has more of an atmosphere than a regular season game would in Philadelphia, or even in Las Vegas, or even in any other current city in the Arena Football League.
It's because it's just because of how they're promoting it, and that's great. It's great how they're promoting it, but again, I want to see 10,000. I want to see 8,000 people in the stands at that place, because 8,000 people in a place like that can be really loud, and it makes for a good atmosphere. Right. The best Arena Bowl that we've had since the relaunch was 10 in Spokane. That was because it was. I don't know if it was or wasn't sold out, but it felt sold out. Oh, no, I take it back. I'm sorry.
Well,
up until last year. Last year was clearly the best experience. But up until that point, it was in Spokane. It's because that place was filled up. So you don't need 15,000 people. But having 10,000 people in a 10,000-seat venue, that's good for the Arena Football League.
Now, here's the question that everybody may be asking now is that if this is now, depending on if they consider it a success, whatever parameters they've set that would consider it a success, is this a one-off? Or is this going to become a yearly thing? Or, another addition to this, could it lead to a potential team in the market? Or will Philadelphia, will the Soul take this as a home away from home market?
It's way too close to Philadelphia to make it another market. So you're talking about what, 30 miles, maybe. So you're not talking about New York City, which is big enough to host a couple different teams. You're talking about the Arena Football League here, and you're talking about Philadelphia and Atlantic City. Atlantic City there's not many people in Atlantic City. Atlantic City is kind of a destination. Now, what I do think could happen, I think you could see an Arena Bowl there. I think that is entirely possible.
That is possible. Now, just for people, just a quick calculation. It's an hour outside of Philly, so it's about 62 miles. But
is that far? All right.
Yeah. You don't think an hour would be? I mean, obviously, we're not talking Toronto, Hamilton, and the CFL as an example, or having multiple teams in the New York market or Chicago, or et cetera, et cetera.
No.
You think it would hurt? You think it would hurt each other?
It's just not now. I mean, you've only got 12 teams in this league, Tim.
Right, yeah, I know. I know we need to get some teams in the Midwest.
You can't have two of them stacked on top of each other at this point. I don't think, even in 2008, I don't think you could have done this. I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily a one-off, but I would think at best it's annual. At best. But I don't think it's going to be the only time we see Atlantic City if it's successful.
Which would be nice. We got to see that. I know CFL's done something similar with the Atlantic.
But I think this is going to work, and I'll tell you really why I think this is going to work. Because Ron Jaworski stuck his name all over this.
That's true,
and
too.
He's been out there, and he has been promoting this on his own radio show. He's been getting business. They're having a business networking function the night before. That's a big deal. If you can get 50 businesses out there represented, and each of those businesses buy 4 seats, again. Look, 200 seats is not the end of the world, but 200 quality seats, that's big money. That's big money for fans, and inevitably, all it takes is one company to come in and say, we want 1,000 tickets for an event like this, and all of a sudden, you've got a loud and proud crowd.
Yeah. No, I hope it's a yearly thing. I was hoping to go down. Just to let you know, we're hoping to have some coverage for it. We do know we're going to have Harrison.
Harrison, are you going? I don't know. Do we know Harrison's going?
I've already spoken to Harrison.
Oh, okay.
Harrison's going to be there. Our beat writer's going to be there. And from what I'm understanding, also our ArenaFan president, Joe Kaufman, is going to be there also. And we're hoping to get some coverage of it for you guys on ArenaFan, social media, et cetera, et cetera. So stay tuned. We're hoping to get great things for you. Before we get to the questions of the week, Adam, I wanted to ask you one question, and this has been kicked around a little bit on the message boards, and we're talking about scoring before. What do you think about the modification? That's the word I'm using. What do you think about the modification and the in the attendances that Vegas had originally for the first couple of games and what they actually posted, what we updated it to the other day? Is it that we know, and we talked about it before in the past, that numbers in attendance they can be papered, but they can be announcing many different types of things, of attendances. It could be the actual butts in the seats. It could be tickets out. I know there's one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but Adam, when you go, as an example for, I think it was the Arizona game, you go from an announced crowd of 2,000 and they end up modifying it, air quote, modifying it to 7,500?
Yeah, well. They're trying to set the Guinness Book of World Records for most papered crowd ever.
And on top of that, we haven't seen any updates as of yet, at least since we announced it, that even the Las Vegas, I think it was the Review Journal, posted this past week that their numbers in Las Vegas were sub 3,000. So
Ouch. You know what this is about. This is just about perception. This is so at the end of the year they can go to the Thomas and Mack and say, the Thomas and Mack and go, see, look, we had 7,000 people on average at our games this year. Nobody wants to say they averaged 2,000 people. And it's also a sponsorship thing. So Butera can go to a sponsor's door, like DraftKings, and say, hey, look, our games are being attended by an average of 8,000 or 9,000 or whatever people. Obviously, you don't want that number, being so horrifying. But, it's kind of like, remember in the Sentinel? Actually, it was the same thing in Pittsburgh. I think it was the Post-Gazette there? I think it was the newspaper, where they had the article about how the Power sort of broke their lease, more or less, because they were papering numbers. Right. And the same thing happened in Orlando.
That's just to bring up Orlando also, yeah.
So, I mean, clearly, there are games being played here, and I don't know what those games are, because I'm not behind that side of the AFL or sports in general, but, I mean, clearly the more people that you say you've got there, the better perception sort of is.
Yes, it is, and obviously we saw the whole thing with the he said, she said when it came to the numbers, and obviously for Orlando it ended up going to CFE Arena, which was a complete and utter debacle for a year, which almost killed the franchise. I can honestly say that. I think you'll agree with me on that one. Mm-hmm. Obviously there is a method to the madness when it comes to numbers, and we know that it's done throughout sports, that numbers are fudged with. So, I just wanted to know your opinion. I mean, I just found it strange that you go, as I said, that was a huge increase from 2,500 to 7,500. The first game, I can understand. I think they announced 7,000 originally, and they modified it.
Remember that place only holds like 9,000 people.
Officially, yes. Yeah, officially only holds
9,000. So you tell me, just by looking at some of those crowds, that that place has been 80% capacity. Uh-huh. Okay.
No, there's no way. There's no way. Now,
yeah. Remember what they did in New Orleans? You were there in New Orleans, right? In 12?
Yeah.
And they did tickets printed for the Arena Bowl?
Yeah, I remember.
And there were not.
From the upper deck in the second half down to the lower deck.
There were not 3,000 people at that game, and they announced 13,000 or something like that.
I had to go back.
Some just stupid number. So I guess that would probably set the Guinness Book of World Records for most papered attendance in league history.
I don't know. Is it last comment, and we'll go to the question and answer section. Is it a concern? Yeah,
you can't BS your way through this. This is what's going to kill New Orleans and Vegas if they do this. You got to be honest out there. Because look, the bottom line for specifically New Orleans, I know this is a little off base, but Bossier did just as well in terms of attendance.
And they were a smaller arena, too.
You moved the team from Bossier to New Orleans to get that exposure, and it failed. Now, part of it is because the team is losing and they're not good. But if they ever got good, would the fans come back? I don't know. I know we got a couple of New Orleans people listening right now, so I mean maybe they can answer for us, but I don't know. Is there an end in sight there for New Orleans? I don't know.
Makes me wonder if it's setting up something. We've talked about stuff before about a new ownership group. I don't know. It's both you and I thought New Orleans was going to do a lot better than what they are actually doing right now.
Well, Dan Newman's all in. You know that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's worrisome, but just seeing the actual numbers and how they changed. Officially, the league still hasn't made modifications to the numbers, and it's still not listed on their official stats site. So, and if we've had numbers before where the Journal had posted different numbers than we had, and we went with what was on the game book, etc. So, if it changes, it changes. As everybody knows, we are currently on social media, and we're covering mostly as much as possible as we can. Considering you're currently listening to your social media guy,
You fail, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks a lot. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. I keep forgetting YouTube, by the way. We actually are on YouTube.
Oh, we are going to do more with YouTube. We are getting there. We will be live on YouTube sooner than later.
Yep, we are on SoundCloud. All those except for YouTube are at /ArenaFan. For YouTube, it is ArenaFan Online. As we do every week, we want to ask you guys for some questions. We had a couple now. Since we are able to use you guys specifically in the who are watching us live on Meerkat this week,
you all come first.
Yeah, we do have some that are in the that came from Twitter. I think not from Twitter, but some from Facebook. If you have any questions, shoot them now. Shoot them over to us now. We'll try to answer them for you. One came from, I think, maybe in the chat room, is Zach. On Facebook, he goes, my question is, how is the LA Kiss going to win a game this season? Now, they're coming off a bye, obviously, Adam. We still don't know the status of Adrian McPherson, if he is going to come back this year or if he is completely done. Question is, in the scheme of things on their schedule, can they win a game?
It sure doesn't look like it now, does it? No. I don't know. You'd like to think LA is going to pick somebody off. It's hard to go 0 for the season. They didn't play a terrible game against Portland. They didn't play a terrible game against Spokane. They're not going to beat Jacksonville this week. Maybe they pick off Portland at home. Maybe they pick off Spokane at home. But yeah, geez, aside from that, maybe they pick off Tampa on August 1st if Tampa's out of it.
Yeah, and I said before, I think maybe if Matt Bassiner had not gotten hurt, broken his hand, maybe they would have won that game that he came out of. And
we'll see. I mean, I got a tough time believing that there's 10 games to go. Let's remember that. And they've come within 2 touchdowns. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Well, I guess it's only 4 times out of 8 games, but still. And if they ever do actually fire Bob McMillan, you got to think that's going to put a jolt into somebody.
Well, I thought was very interesting is that with Brett Boushey, he left and they lost their president, or their president was left also or was fired. That longtime AFL executive Joe Wyndham was actually promoted to the CEO, and he's going to now oversee team business and football operations.
If he's overseeing football operations, that's saying a lot. Football ops, I didn't know that when we first talked about this. I thought it was just team president, but football ops is a big deal. Because football ops, now you're talking about the guy who may be determining who's going to be on the team. Let's remember, too, LA has only played 2 home games so far. Now, the fact that they've got all these freaking home games Sunday at 3 p.m. local time, I don't know about that. Because they've got 3 of those coming up. Yeah, that's not good. That's actually terrible. 3 Sunday afternoon games at 3 o'clock. One of which is going to be during the NBA Finals, and one of which is probably going to be during this, maybe during the Stanley Cup Finals. This Sunday's game is No, it's not plausible during the Stanley Cup Finals, but it's very plausible that the NBA Finals is going to be going on June 7th for that game against Portland.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, that'll be a night. Whatever. But anyway, these Sunday at 3 p.m. games, come on, really? Who's going to show up for a Sunday 3 p.m. game in LA?
I would think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They work in some locales, but
not there.
No, not there. I'm trying to see. Did we have any others? I might not see some of the questions here. Sorry.
You gotta scroll up on Meerkat. I think you.
Oh yeah.
Get your cat out of the equation.
I was about to say. Speaking of.
If you do that, I'm gonna bring Teddy in here.
Go today. Teddy made his worldwide debut last week.
Yes, he did.
Did you start a fan club for him?
No, but I probably should.
Let's see. Question from Bowling Patriot. What the hell is wrong with the voodoo and how can they fix it?
Well, what's wrong with the voodoo? Let's see. They don't have a quarterback. They haven't had the same group of wide receivers. I don't think they've sent out the same three wide receivers all season long. They just traded away one of what theoretically should be one of their best players, even though I know he didn't play that well there, for nothing. Or future considerations, whatever you want to call it. I'm not. I don't know. What can they do? But they're not that far out of it. They're not.
No, they aren't.
They're in the conference that you can get in the playoffs, and I still think they play hard. They play really hard. So what do they have to do to figure out as an organization? Well, I guess give Brandon Rizzuto time, and see what he can do. I mean, that's kind of the best you can hope for at this point. Just see what he can do.
Yeah, no, it's. I look at them. Everybody talks about how once proud franchise they were, and it's true they were, and they've just gone through some rough patches in the community, and I don't know. I
hate to say the answer may be wait till Dan Newman gets out of there, but the answer may be wait till Dan Newman gets out of there because look, I like Dan Newman. I think he's a nice guy. He's been very open with me about things. It's tough. I hate to say this about any owner in the AFL, but the team has had no direction since he has been in place. And he's been in place since 2010 with Bossier Shreveport.
Right.
Yeah, would have thought there would have been some direction in 11. He had the Arena Bowl in 12. 12? Or 11? No, 12. 12.
Yeah.
The Arena Bowl was in Phoenix in 11. How could I forget?
Yeah.
So, I wonder if there's something on the horizon when he goes, if he goes. That may be what it takes to really turn the franchise around.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a matter of getting a franchise quarterback, and we've seen teams.
Who are you getting? Who is a franchise quarterback?
I won't say right now. Not in the year of the backup. I guess it just comes down to.
They got to find Shane Austin. That's what they've got to do. They've got to get lucky and because remember, Shane Austin was a backup quarterback.
That's true.
They got to find Shane Austin. I don't know where you're finding Shane Austin from, but you got to find Shane Austin.
Pulling away Nathan Stanley?
No, I don't see it happening.
He's going to stay on the West Coast.
He's in San Jose. Come on, man.
Yeah. Other question came to us from Michael 209-13867.
Gesundheit.
Who do you guys believe is the front runner for MVP and Rookie of the Year?
Now that's a great question this year. That is a phenomenal question. Rookie of the Year. Marcus Smith was having a real good year until he got hurt. Wow, Rookie of the Year.
We've had a few. We've had a few guys that are
Rookie of the Year. That's a good one.
Do you go lineman? Do you go wide receiver?
Let's talk about that next week.
Okay.
Let's do awards next week when we're more prepared for that question. MVP,
Okay.
MVP maybe even tougher.
I know MVP's a hell of a toss-up right
Dan
now.
Radaball? I guess it's got to be Radaball, right?
Radaball, Shane Austin.
They're a 500 team. Don't give me Shane Austin.
No. Just because remember, a most valuable player. Now I understand you never.
Oh yeah, good point, Zach. Good point. Kendrick Ings. He's had a big year for Tampa. Good point.
Yeah. Okay. But as far as remember, you want a guy from a winning team. I understand, but But it's the guy. Is there a wide receiver?
I mean, Hibbert before he got hurt. I mean,
Donovan Morgan's having a huge.
Nobody on an 0-8 team is winning MVP.
That's what I'm saying. He won't get it.
They could have gone 0-8. I could have been in that spot at wide receiver, and they would have gone 0-8. I could have played quarterback, and they could have gone 0-8.
Yeah.
My life insurance is paid up.
Reggie Gray?
How many games has he been MIA?
Yeah.
He's had some MIA games. This is tough. Good question. We'll get back to you next week on that. That's a good question.
Let me see. Any more questions for you guys? Yep. Let's see. I don't see any more, at least on Facebook. I don't see any on Facebook. But thanks, guys. I know we're able to do this a little bit live, getting some questions from you guys while we're streaming live. But don't see any others here. By the way, do not forget, there is obviously with Week 10 coming up, do not forget to set your Tooker Flags Arena Fantasy teams, whether it be for your Pick'em or for any of the Quick Pick or your Deluxe Fantasy. Make sure you get your picks in.
My team got slaughtered last week.
We had some really weird scores. I think a lot of people did very poorly when it came to Quick Pick also, because, everybody
took J.J. Ratterink, that's why.
Well, no, and also they didn't know if Nathan Stanley was going to start or if it was going to be Meyer. That was another one also.
Yeah, but the only having Vegas to pick from thing sucked.
Yeah, I tried to stay away from when it came to quarterbacks. That can be sometimes you have to really change things up. It's like, do you want to keep a Derek Ross?
But who are you playing? Who were you playing from Vegas? Who did you play from Vegas?
Hold on a second, I'll check mine. Hold on.
Because Gerald Young is hurt.
Yep, Gerald Young.
So what are you using? Jomo Wilson? Maybe their kicker?
Yes, I did.
Jomo Wilson and the kicker? Is that what you did?
That's exactly what I did.
You were smart, because I used J.J. Ratterink. That was not smart.
Yeah, I just looked at I looked at the matchups. I was like, no, there's no way. Because the way that things came out, I really had my first three quarterbacks already set. So I wasn't going to, I had to juggle things around, and sometimes you do when it comes to Quick Pick. But that's what I like about Quick Pick. It's not set in stone, so to speak, and you can have a huge week if you find that one particular person who you don't expect, that everybody's expecting to do well. And I'll use Warren Smith a couple weeks ago. Anybody who had Warren Smith scored big at least for 1 week. So, but don't forget, guys, games this week, Adam, full slate, and I was trying to do the math, trying to figure this out. For the first time that I can remember, we have 2 national games on television, basically going back to back. Give it take about 30 minutes or so. I guess
it's about an hour, maybe an hour and a half,
something like that. But that, and we're back on ESPN2 this week. But
who's calling that? Who's calling the Boardwalk Bowl?
Because
I got to imagine that the Ari Wolf and gang crew was going to be in. Well, maybe they'll be in Philly. Then who would be in Spokane?
Yeah, I know there is a secondary crew. I'd have to go back and check the league's PR.
Ugh.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
What are the odds that they call the Rattlers the Wranglers at some point?
No, that's not. We're not. Yeah, we're at that point. I don't think we're okay. A lot of these guys who are actually.
This is the B crew. The B crew hasn't called a game all year.
I know, but they do know arena football. I think it'll be a mix of things. Oh, it's
I would bet you right now.
Randy Gatewood.
I sure hope he doesn't screw up the name Rattlers.
I'm just trying to think here. Anybody know?
But I'll bet you somebody in that ESPN2, whichever broadcast is the B broadcast, the Philly game or the Spokane game, I'll bet you one of them screws up the name of the teams at least once. One of them in the booth will screw up, or on the field will screw up one of the names of one of the teams at least once.
Let's see if I can find who this is. Oh, no, it's the ESPN.
I bet you a drink, but I'm drinking one way or the other, and you're not.
I know you are. I know.
See, proof. It's almost gone.
I know.
See?
I know. Okay.
God, that makes for terrible podcasting, but it makes for excellent Meerkat.
Oh, of course. So, technically for CBS Sports Network, obviously Ari Wolf, Anthony Herron, Shedrick Bonner, Randy Gatewood, Steve Pappin. So I got a feeling somewhere around there, Gatewood or Pappin will be used. But if anything, maybe they'll be, since No, because in Spokane.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's going to be a B crew somewhere.
Oh, there is a B crew. There is a B crew, and if I can do a quick news search, I can tell you what the ESPN crew is going to be.
Hey, the Rockets are beating the Warriors in the first quarter. Stop the game. We maybe have a series worth watching. I doubt it. We might.
Here we go. So ESPN is JB Long.
Who?
He's done it before. JB Long. They only have listed Ari Wolf, JB Long, and Anthony Herron and Shedrick Bonner. And Randy Gatewood and Steve Patton. So, you know what? The only difference in this is JB Long. So JB will probably be the B crew, along with either Anthony will be somewhere, Ari will be, I think, in Philadelphia, like he said. Shedrick Bonner will probably be in... I don't know. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see. Either way, so the games start on Friday with Orlando traveling to Cleveland.
It's a good game.
Very good game.
That's a good game. Tough one. This is the rematch from last year's conference title game. Orlando is bringing back BMO, I assume. You know, it's all we can really assume. I don't know. I think Orlando can win this game. Am I crazy to think that? Am I crazy to think Orlando
can
win
this
game?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's... I think these teams are very, very evenly
I'm not sold on Cleveland this year. I'm just not. I don't know. The way they played in the second half last week, and it's a relatively short week, and they're coming back from across the country, and I'm just not sold on Cleveland. By the way, we have point spreads. Let me pull up the point spreads.
Yeah, but Coach Chung will do something, because I don't think any coach is not gonna say, hey, listen, great job, guys. You scored 6 points in the second half. I mean, maybe that'll go in the NFL, but that won't go in the arena football.
Cleveland's favored by 7.5 in this game. Total's 116.5.
Interesting.
Should we do the Fran thing? Should we?
No.
No?
No. No.
Who? No? Okay.
No. Cleveland's won the last 3. Everybody remembers also Orlando losing one game. Oh, no, sorry, that was Jacksonville. Cleveland winning 56-55 back on May 2nd. And going back, they won the last. Cleveland won the last 3, but
they won the game that counted last year.
Yeah, this game's in Cleveland, right? Yeah, game's in Cleveland.
This is at the Q. Orlando has had horrible luck at the Q. I don't think they've ever won a game at the Q, actually.
Checking.
I don't think they've ever won a game at the Q. I think they've only played there 3 times, and I think they've lost all 3 times.
They have not won a game at the Q.
Is it 3 times?
No, the total series for Cleveland Gladiators is 7-3.
Yeah, but what? No. I mean, in the Q. How many games have they played at the Q?
1, 2, 3, 5.
5 games. I'm missing a couple games. Okay.
5
I know
games.
they lost the play. I know they've lost 2 playoff games there.
Yeah.
But I think they can win this game.
I think to me it's almost like a pick-up game itself, but I actually agree with you on that one. I think that they're gelling. I heard that comment last week that nobody does not know what to expect from this Orlando Predators team, and
this is a weird-ass team. This is just a weird team. But I said this at the start of the year. I said you're going to have games that they play that you look at them and go, what the hell are they doing out there? And then you're going to have games where they beat the crap out of teams that you don't think they should beat. I think this is one of these games they're going to beat a team that you don't think they should beat. I think they're going to win this game. I'm on board.
Second game on Saturday, an early game in Portland for some particular reason.
Screw these 3 p.m. Western games.
San Jose travels to Portland, and I really don't think that it's the big thing is the time that they're starting or who is coming to play Portland. It just happens to be San Jose, but I think the large elephant in the room happens to be the point spread.
Yeah, I mean, are we really asking who's going to win this game, or are we asking by how many points San Jose
that's why
is going
I'm
to
sort
win
of
this game?
away from it.
San Jose is favored by 25 freaking points, which at least, I may have an eye for gambling here, but I think that's the biggest spread I've seen for a road team. I don't think I've ever seen a road team favored by 25 freaking points. The over-under in this game, for good measure, is only 97, which means, by quick math, Portland's only picked to get 36, right? 36?
Mm.
Yeah, 36 points.
Look at these past scores. Oh, this is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose's defense has been nuts. We know this.
I know. But listen to this, too. So the 4 games that these two teams have played.
Oh, it's been ugly.
San Jose, 3 out of 4 times, have scored literally 64 points. 3 out of the 4 games, they've scored 64 points versus Portland. The last time, I guess it was sort of a blip. Oh, this was that close game. San Jose won only by 6.
Ooh.
That was at Portland.
Yeah, the bottom line is Portland's going to get its ass kicked if San Jose decides that it's going to kick Portland's ass. If San Jose comes out like it did last week in the beginning of the game, yeah, maybe Portland can hang for a half, but they're not going to come close in this game.
Right, and also another thing that people need to remember too, if you haven't heard already, Darren Thomas is done for the season. He was just placed on IR. I think is it official today? Hold on a second, I'm checking.
Well, the team put out a PR yesterday.
Yeah, they put out a PR, but it's officially, according to the league, it's not officially yet. Did not show up on today's transactions. But yes, if you read the PR that we tweeted out, yeah, it's legit. Yeah, he's done for the season. So who did they?
They traded for Alex Carter.
That's right, Alex. Yeah.
So I've got to imagine. Interestingly enough, Alex Carter and Kyle Rowley both with Jacksonville ties.
That's true too. Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, Portland's going to get crippled in this game. Granted, I'd probably take the 25, to tell you the truth. I'd probably take the 25.
Rather than the over-under?
Well, no, rather than laying the 25. See, do I need to teach you gambling? Laying the points means you're taking the favorite.
I know. Yeah, no, it's either take the points or it's the over-under. I know it's too
No, it's taking the points or laying the points. The over-under is a separate bet.
Okay.
Either you take the points, which means you're taking Portland in this game, plus 25, which means if they lose by 24 unless you win, or you're laying the points, meaning you're saying that San Jose is going to win by more than 25.
There we go. Okay.
Do I need to teach you gambling after all these years?
You might as well. It might as well take up one whole episode. We talked about it before, Las Vegas, who is going to be without J.J. Rattering, who was placed on inactive reserve today. Not IR, actually, Adam.
Oh, well, all right.
At least yet. But remember, Spokane did the exact same thing.
I think the Las Vegas Sun.
Carson Coffin. The exact same Carson Coffin.
I think the Las Vegas Sun said IR, which means that may not be right. I don't know.
As tomorrow. It's very possible. Today this, tomorrow it'll be this. Las Vegas travels to Atlantic City.
They're going to get killed.
To play the Philadelphia Soul.
They're going to get killed. That game will not. This game will be over in the first quarter. This game will be just like that game in Tampa. I would lay 40 in this game. I think Philly is going to cripple Las Vegas in this game.
Have you seen, what are the numbers?
15 and a half. Sorry.
15 and a half.
Easily.
Question is Carter going to play? Because I know they put him on RTR. Because maybe just trying to get there.
If Philly gets the ball first, Philly will be covering this game at the end of the first quarter.
Actually, you know what? If anything, if Carter doesn't play, Sean Brackett will start.
Yeah, I got to imagine Sean Carter's going to play. Not Carter.
He did play well.
Carter went to Portland, not Vegas.
Sorry.
I don't know what the hell Vegas is going to do for a backup.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay, you don't know. But
yeah, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Maybe Aaron's going to suit up. Player coach.
For Vegas, Sean Brackett, I'm sure we'll be starting. Rattering.
By the way, he wasn't half bad. For good measure.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Believe it or not, he was not half bad. I'll pull up his stats here real quick, but they put up a lot of points in the second half. He went...
Fourth quarter specifically. They tied a league record.
He went 13 of 23 for 154 yards and 4 freaking touchdowns, and he rushed for a touchdown. And by the way, he did all of that in the fourth quarter. They scored 21 points for the first 3 quarters of that game and scored 35 in the fourth.
Mm-hmm. Also aided by a kickoff return by Tanner Varner. They almost came back. It was almost a 20-point lead that 21 point lead that Spokane almost blew.
Spokane was up 35 in the beginning of the fourth quarter. They were up 35 goddamn points.
That's what it was.
And that actually became sweating in the fourth quarter.
You think?
Well, I mean, look, there was still only 12 seconds left when Willis scored the touchdown.
You and I both know 12 seconds is still an eternity.
Yeah, but look, you're still, a 1 to 10 favorite at that point. Probably a 1 to 20 favorite at that point.
Right.
Because you've got to recover an onside kick and score with, I believe they had no timeouts left. So you've got to recover the kick and score in 12 seconds. That's tough. And you're going to have to either make a 2-point conversion or win it overtime. So yeah, it's probably 1 to 50, not 1 to 20.
Okay. New Orleans travels to Tampa Bay.
See, Tampa's favorite...
By the way, I mentioned before, Philadelphia, Boardwalk Bowls, Las Vegas will be on CBS Sports Network.
These two teams have typically played relatively close games. Tampa's favored by 18.5, and I don't see it.
18.5?
Favored by 18.5.
After the garbage they put up last.
I mean, New Orleans has been pretty bad lately. But I think New Orleans can hang it. I mean, hey, look, it's Pope Clown's birthday, too. Happy birthday, Pope Clown. We're going to have something special with Pope Clown here in a little bit. But
yeah, a couple weeks.
If you don't know who Pope Clown is, you should. Look him up. I'm almost certain if you just Google Pope Clown, you'll find him.
They gave him an AFL award last week.
Yeah, and he got the, what was it, the What a Fan?
AFL What a Fan award, or, yeah, something like that.
That guy has, like, the best donuts on the face of the earth, and I'm going to be in New Orleans in a couple weeks, and I can't wait to taste them. We're going to do something special with him. But anyway, I think New Orleans is going to win this game, believe it or not. I do. Tampa's played like crap.
They have lately.
By the way, my language gets worse as I drink, for good measure.
No, I'm just laughing at the donut comment. It just came off so wrong.
Oh, that's right. The people on the podcast don't know that I've been drinking, but the people on Meerkat do.
Yeah,
by the way, there's nothing left.
Tampa Bay has won the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 6.
But a lot of those games have been close, right?
The last game is where New Orleans dropped at an almighty 13 spot.
Okay, fine. Aside from that game.
Yes, they've been pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been very close, except for back in May 2013, where Tampa Bay beat them by 31 points.
Okay, I'm still taking the 18.5 for sure.
Should be interesting, but yeah, 18 I think is high. New Orleans, I think okay, but you know what?
Tampa's done. I think Tampa is toast. I think they are finished. It would not surprise me if they lose out until they fire Samuels. I think it's inevitable that they're going to fire Samuels, and I think it's coming in the next month. It's just a gut. I don't know. It's just a gut.
Right.
But I think they're going to get rid of Samuels because I think they're going to get beaten in this game, and I think they are set to... I think that loss in Orlando, parlayed with the fact that they don't have a defensive coordinator anymore for all intents and purposes. Chris Hogan has been suspended indefinitely.
Right.
I think they are in big trouble.
Here's an interesting game. More for the matchup itself. Arizona travels to Spokane. Game is on ESPN2. Storyline is not just necessarily Arizona Spokane, but who's going to start at quarterback? Now, we've been under the impression that, and I think we were told back when Nick Davila got hurt, that he would be back for this game. Okay, B.J. Coleman's been starting in his place. They recently, I think they still had. I did it when we're talking pregame too. Shane Boyd also. What's funny is that it gives a little bit of insider information was that the notes for the week, which, by the way, one caveat, they can change, as we have seen, but they did list the quarterback's depth chart as being Nick Davila and then B.J. Coleman. My question would be, Adam, who does Coach Olsen, who are they trying to, are they going to think that Davila is going to start just based on that? Or are they going to just say, you know what, we got to throw things up in the air. We just got to be ready for Arizona. Whichever Arizona team shows up and whoever is under center. It's true if you think about it.
This is the problem with not having injury reports in the AFL. Mm-hmm. I think we should just leave it at that.
Now, if Arizona does not have, then we'll start doing it. If Nick Davila does not start quarterback, Adam, does Spokane win?
No.
with Warren Smith. He had a good game last week. Warren Smith did have a good game.
No. Arizona's favored by 6, and I think that's ridiculous that they're only favored by 6. They are substantially the better team in this game, even if it's BJ Coleman or whomever, whatever the hell Arizona wants to throw out there. They killed Vegas. They didn't kill New Orleans, but they were probably the better team against New Orleans. BJ Coleman improving. It's a tough one. I don't know. I think Arizona's a double-digit winner in this game.
Arizona's won the last 5 of 6. The only win recently was back last year where Spokane, well, I think it's one of the better games of the year, too. Spokane beat Arizona by a touchdown, 73-66. I would say, I think when it comes to fantasy and stuff like that, too, I think this week I'm going to stick with exactly what I've done. I'm going to wait and see who starts, and maybe I'll choose an Arizona quarterback the week following. I'm going to wait. I would go Arizona, but weirder things have occurred, and I will leave it at that. Last game of the week, Sunday, 6 p.m., Jacksonville travels across country, one of the few East-West matchups this year. Travel to play the currently
uneventful,
winless
romp.
Los Angeles Kiss.
Romp. Nightmare. 14.5 is the spread. It's ridiculous. Jacksonville will win this game by at least 20.
This team, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I really think this team will set these league records for futility when it comes to road losses, and they're close.
Wouldn't it be hilarious, though, if Brett Bushy's former team beat Jeff Bushy's current team? Wouldn't it be hilarious?
It would be probably one of the biggest upsets of the year.
Well, it's only 14.5 points, so by definition it wouldn't be, but...
When it comes to that, what do you consider an upset?
Vegas over Arizona?
Well, yes, but this how bad it seems that this current team is. You wouldn't consider this?
No.
Or is it based on the fact that?
And I just base this on point spreads. I don't care.
Okay. Current losing streaks since they're not on the road. Overall, it's 17 right now. 14.
Well, they're at home in this game.
Yeah, I know. So they can't do anything with that. It's 14. 14 straight losses overall. 3 away from tying the league record. So.
Sorry, I'm Meerkat. Sorry, I just dropped the phone.
I've been watching it all day. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm enjoying mocking because there's nothing you can do about it, Tim.
No. We want your feedback. If you had a chance to watch us on Meerkat this week, let us know. We want your feedback. Please email Adam or myself, tim.capper@arenafan.com, adam.markowitz@arenafan.com. Talk to us on the message boards. Send us something on Twitter. Repacked in an AFL Guru. I've given those out in a long time. Let us know how you thought the live stream went. We're looking into doing other things too, whether it be with Periscope, something similar. We're looking at having a live video also through Google+. Something we've been promising for years to come, and I think we finally have the means to do so without being too much of an expense. But I think it went quite well, Adam, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For the 35 of you that have watched us live.
Yeah, great interaction. Last words, Adam.
Golden State in a dead sweep against Cleveland. Sweep. No game close. Not a single game close.
Should be interesting.
And I guess I should do the Stanley Cup Finals too, since that'll be started before. Nah, we can wait on that. They'll only be 1 game in by then.
Quick update, by the way, for those who don't remember, Adam and I had a thing going when it came to the
playoffs. Yeah, hell, what the hell are we doing?
Adam's caught up.
Adam is not only caught up. Adam, if the Rangers win game 7? Yep. Against the Lightning, I will win. I will have beaten Tim. I will have beaten Canada at its own game. I will have beaten the entire country of Canada at hockey.
Yeah.
But currently, it's Tim is up 43-42. But I still have alive the Rangers, the Ducks, and the Blackhawks, and he only has the Lightning left. So if the Lightning lose, I hope they don't, but if they do, It's over. And if they do, if Tampa Bay does advance, if Anaheim or Chicago, which it sure looks like that's going to go 7, that game's 3-1 right now.
That's crazy.
Then if that team wins the Cup, then we're good. So yeah, we may be heads up for the Cup.
It's very possible.
Very possible. I still think the Rangers are going to beat Tampa, unfortunately. I hope not, but I think that's what's going to happen.
We'll find out. So we thank you guys for joining us on the podcast this week.
And thank you for telling me that all of my writing is backwards. For those of you who are listening on this, not live, you've been missing all of my fun writing. I've been mocking Tim and shit.
I noticed it too.
But I didn't even know that nobody could read it. That's terrible.
What, you mean you can't write?
I can't write backwards, though I did write my E backwards for my wife.
Can't write dyslexic? So
I need like a mirror. See, what I need to do next time is I need to put up a mirror with the writing. So
I think it depends on the actual thing, because I know that when I take my pictures and stuff like that with my Android, that it actually comes out correct. When
yeah,
I
but
say
apparently it's backwards, so that's
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is backwards. It is backwards. So for everybody here at AFL Tonight, for Adam Markowitz, I'm Tim Capper. Watch the rebound off the net.
Yay, Meerkat people!
That rocked. Thanks, guys.
For the 7 of you that got through this.
Thank you. We want to thank all of you guys for joining us.
Jorge. Who else is in here? Zach. Michael. My wife has not been in here the whole time, and she's probably passed out asleep. Tim, you don't count. Ben.
Aww.
Ben, thanks. Sorry I mocked your team. But for the rest of you that are in here, that have been in here for most of the night, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll do it again, same time-ish next week.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
We couldn't do it without you guys.
Yes, this episode will still be on podcast. We are absolutely still taping next week. For those of you who are still listening on Meerkat, we're hoping to have Periscope. We're hoping to have Google+. We're hoping to have YouTube. We are taking over the entire social media world.
We're trying to do some things a lot different. We know you guys call for them, but yes, everything will still be available each week. You will still see the announcements that the podcast will be available on SoundCloud, and it will be available on YouTube, on iTunes.
iTunes.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing's changing. Just out of curiosity, for all you that are still in here, you like this? This was good? Well, most of the people are leaving. But if anybody's still in there listening, this was good, right? This worked? Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
I could give a thumbs up. It won't matter.
Thumbs up.
Give us a heart.
On 9-second delay.
On 9-second
You want
delay,
a heart?
yeah.
Here you go. A heart.
There you go. I gave one earlier, too.
Yeah, but so nobody saw yours.
Oh, no? No, I can't see what you're seeing, so...
Let's see.
When somebody gets a heart... Oh, does that?
I think we've waited more than 9 seconds, right? We know we're on 9-second delay, so for those of you, we figured out we're on 9-second delay.
Yeah. So
welcome to my office and welcome to our life of AFL Tonight.
Yeah, this is the AFL Tonight post.
And yes, I drink. I've like literally become an alcoholic because of this show.
Hey,
so
for me to have one
drink
last
left.
week. For me to have one last week, by the way. Oh my God! Did you drink last week?
Tim is still a silly Canadian. If you couldn't read what that said.
Oh, is that what it said?
That's what that says. It says Tim's a silly Canadian. See? You have to read it backwards. Put up a mirror to it and you can see Tim is a silly Canadian.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But now the problem is I got to figure out how to write backwards. So I got to do that. But anyway. All right, guys. I think we're done. It's because I have a lot of work to do tonight still. So.
You gotta send me the interview so I can do some in post.
You're not just... All right. Well, peace out, guys. I'm Meerkat. I'm going to keep talking to Tim. Take care, guys.
Later, guys. Thanks a lot.